Get the chance to talk to all of you and make sure that I pronounce your name in a correct way. Elisabetta Zwanelli, Antonio Sanfilippo, Sergi, Roberto Barbara. So maybe we're missing one more presenter. We'll proceed anyway with the presentations, and if they join us later. So, Mr. Antonio, again, please. Are you in the room? All right, so we'll start with Brook.
Hi, everyone. 10 minutes is significantly shorter than I thought I had. So anyway, I'm going to be talking about the evolution of not the species, but of NREN and campus services. And so if you're Dutch, you may know what this is because they carry cheese, as Alex pointed out. But this is a hand barrow. And the hand barrow evolved into the wheelbarrow. Or more correctly, the name of this is the European wheelbarrow. I didn't know it was the European wheelbarrow. I'm Australian, and so this is the wheelbarrow that I know. But there actually is a Chinese wheelbarrow in addition to the European one. But the Chinese one is significantly better. It reduces the number of people, as does the European wheelbarrow, so you double your workforce. It has a wheel. It can carry 3 times the load of a European wheelbarrow because you only have to steer, because you presumably balance all of your materials on top. And so even with the knowledge of this wheelbarrow existing, we still created the European wheelbarrow and used it in Australia. And so sometimes knowing that there's a better way of doing things doesn't mean that people do it that way. So in the NREN community, we've sort of evolved 3 services. And then I've just started my timer because I've just realized I hadn't. We used to have computer labs, and I'm not too sure if you still have computer labs in your institutions, but they're a dying breed. And we had computer labs because computers were expensive once upon a time. And when people started to buy computers, at least some universities built university modem pools. This is so students that had these expensive computers at home could now be connected to this network that we were building. And the connectivity was slow, but the modem pool gave students that access back into the academic world. Now, from this modem pool technology, we actually evolved a service out of it. Behind all of these modem pools were radius servers, and in the Netherlands, people working at SurfNet decided, could you use the same infrastructure that we have for these distributed modem pools around the country for this new emerging wireless network that is being deployed in laptops? And that caused us to create EduRoam. So the technology that we had for modem pools didn't die, but it lives on now. And in fact, it's very funny. My daughter's watching a movie and she heard the sound of a modem and could remember in the distant past the sort of sound that a modem makes. But I'm sure many people have actually forgotten what this is. And so EduRoam is a global wireless roaming service. We really hope that it's going to be available in Oman soon, and we're working with WADA from the Research Council to make this happen. And it's built on, technologies that already existed, that were deployed and available within your infrastructure. And so you have your device, talks to your institutional radius server. We'll go through a magic routing infrastructure to find where you really belong. And then it will give you access to a network. And this is the infrastructure that is campus-based. And you probably have some of these components already on your campus. You already have Wi-Fi access points. You have a user database somewhere in your campus management information systems. You probably only need to add a radius server and connect to your NREN upstream. This is the infrastructure that your NREN needs to support. So they need to support a radius proxy server for the country, and have that paired with the EduRoam infrastructure upstream, which is in fact globally. And this is where we have EduRoam now. So There's actually 3 colours on this map. There's actually a colour for the pilot sites. You might not be able to see that so well. And this is a flight map made by Janet in the UK, because they weren't sure whether people bothered to use Eduroam. So they mapped where people moved. And this is a usage map. So the size of the bubbles create the intensity of how much Eduroam use is happening. Now, you might not know the geography of the UK, because you might think that the really big red blob is London. This is not London. This is a collaboration by 3 institutions that decided to specialise in particular areas of teaching and learning. So you didn't do high-level physics at each of the 3 institutions. You had to actually physically move from one campus to another. This created a huge amount of people mobility. So we had people talking about open exchanges, right? The idea of exchanging traffic between institutions. Eduroam is like a human peering exchange. It allows people to move and get access to the network. So if you want to know more, contact me, contact WADA, talk to someone in your NREN. Upstream, they will eventually get to me, and we can solve a problem for you. The next problem that we tried to solve is authentication on campus. So this started as a campus issue, lots of campus services, lots and lots of passwords as a result. But because you've got so many passwords, this creates a problem with managing access and collaboration within services, lots of time spent deploying accounts just in systems, and then you have varying degrees of password security because you have many applications to deal with. So LDAP was very, very popular as a campus solution to try and centralise passwords. The next thing that evolved from this is web single sign-on. So you either used PySAML, Simple SAML PHP, or Shibboleth, or there's plenty of other campus-specific technologies to support web single sign-on. And this allows you to centralise all of your users in one location, focus on password security in one location, and deploy applications that are easy for people to use, limiting man-in-the-middle attacks. Easier to share services and allow other faculties or the student union or other groups to offer authenticated services without actually having to expose user passwords. So NREN saw this happening, and we started to create federation, because wouldn't it be great if you could use your campus identity at national service level? And the first sort of academic federation started in the mid-2000s. So a little bit after Eduroam. 3 to 5 years after Eduroam started to come on the scene. And this created lots of federations. Lots and lots of federations grew up around the world as a result of this. And you can actually see, if you look carefully on the map, you'll see the Research Council with their federation Oman Kid and EduIDM from Marwan in Morocco. Where are the Moroccans? I can't see. There's red one. So this is what identity federations look globally. So this is a map produced by Refeds. It shows the production federations in purple, pilot federations in red, and we have 52 federations on the planet at this point in time. And people actually wanted to get the same sort of utility for identity federations as they had for Eduroam. Eduroam naturally works between borders, but identity federations didn't. They were country-bound by virtue of that was the community of the NREN. Fortunately, people largely standardised on SAML2. They supported research and education, and they had similar attribute and usage requirements. So the NREN community, at least in Europe, decided to create EduGain, global authentication infrastructure, to interconnect all of the identity federations that exist. And this is a map of what EduGain looks like now. We have basically every production federation on the planet, 30 EduGain members at the moment, 6 in the process of joining. They've passed all of the paperwork process, but need to provide content and identity services to EduGain. We have one candidate federation in Armenia, who are just in the process of creating their federation and have requested to join, and 15 other federations, at least that we know about on the planet. So if we don't know about you, sorry, contact ReFeds and we'll put you on the map and we'll keep track of your progress as you evolve. This is what EduGain looks like in numbers. So when EduGain started, there were only 24 federations on the planet, and federations have grown. In fact, EduGain has had to actively help the creation of federations because otherwise we'd run out of customers. And the European Commission likes growth targets for our project, so we actually have to create more customers so that we can have more people join. So for a long time we were about the 50% mark of federation adoption because we were creating federations at the same pace they were joining. At the moment, more federations have joined than we've been able to create, but we want to still create more federations and keep the community growing. In size, identity providers are the things you log in from, your institution. So there's more than 1,000 identity providers within EduGain, and a little over 1,000 services, things that you can log into. And out of the whole federation landscape that we can track, that we know publicly, we see that there's about 3,000 identity providers. So we've got about a third of the institutional identity providers available. And there are about 6,000 services. So we're behind on attracting the services. But not all services are useful globally. Sometimes they're national services, so there's no value sharing them wider. We also have the situation where the country of Norway and Croatia, they're only represented by a single identity provider. Because of the structure of their network, all of the institutions behind them are hidden. You don't need to know about this. This is what EduGain looks like in practice. A tiny bit of technology in the metadata distribution service and more in the policy sort of side. So, and I'm over time already, my thing is flashing, but we had a project to try and create identity federations in Latin America. And this is what the Latin American space looked like when the Elsira project started. Brazil had an identity federation, and all the other countries were sort of targets. And we took what we thought were our European deployment process, which was this, to Latin America, that you would deploy EduRoam first, you would build web single sign-on at the campus, develop a federation, and eventually join EduGain. Now, at the end of the Elsira project, the world changed to look like this. We created many more federations within Latin America, many more federations piloting, so quite a lot of success. But not only did we have a broader community, we came back with a new deployment process. Europe has had more than 10 years to develop all of this. Latin America had 2. So if you want to compress the deployment pattern, they went with their federation policy very early on, which allowed them to create a federation and support EduGain, offer web single sign-on at the campus level, and support EduRoam, all within the same framework. So this is now the path that we believe others should adopt. And there's a huge range of services that can be federated. You can hear about them from me later. And later we have Baron speaking on a project which is actually being supported by EduGain. So that's pretty good if you want to join that community when you hear him talk. So yeah, you get to choose your own deployment path. Evolution, you may create a new path within the Arab state region, I'm not too sure. But certainly, I think the lessons that we learnt from Latin America were that you could speed up the deployment. And although we have federations operating in Morocco and in Oman, the rest of the Arab region can make progress very, very quickly.
Okay, so thank you so much again.